It is the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate. Hope everyone had a great college football Saturday. Week 7 already. Now, here's what we're going to get into today. Paul Finebaum is always a tradition unlike any other on a Sunday morning. Paul's always here, no matter what. A couple of things. One, the midterms. We're going to do some midterm grades today as we embark on the second half of the season. A couple things happened yesterday that stood out. We'll get to all of that because now we have a body of work. Midway through the point of the season, we know exactly who we can rely on, who we overrated, who we underrated, which stars have performed. So it's going to be a good show today because now we can kind of sink our teeth in and really start following some teams that maybe didn't start great, that have found their groove, that maybe found their groove early and fell off. We'll get into all of that today on the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate. But as we always do to kick things off, we are going to do our good hands play of the day presented by Allstate. And it was one of the upsets yesterday. It was Colorado taking on Iowa State. What a game for Caden Salter. 16 of 25, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns. This one to Amarian Miller. He had 3 receptions, 82 yards and a touchdown as Colorado would come back and upset Iowa State. And kind of a sign of things to come in the Big 12. I don't care if your team's got one loss in conference. Arizona State got thumped last night to Utah. Texas Tech looks pretty good. But there are a lot of teams in the Big 12 that are still up for the Big 12 championship as we now head to the back half of the schedule. So that is our good hands play presented by Allstate. Good for Dion, by the way. Bonus helmet sticker for Dion. Had surgery for blood clots on Tuesday. Still on the sidelines yesterday. So congratulations to Dion and Colorado on their win. And it's time now to bring in Paul Finebaum to recap the midway point of the season. And Paul, I always do this big picture. We had some marquee games. We'll dive into each of them as we always do. What was your prevailing thought from a Saturday that was built? I mean, the games were good matchups. Some of them didn't live up to the hype. What did you think about Saturday?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good day. I can't get over Indiana doing what the Hoosiers did out at Oregon. I thought that was probably the biggest and most important story of the day. I was in Missouri, so I was pretty locked into Alabama surviving. Mizzou, it wouldn't be a Sunday morning if Auburn wasn't completely and totally screwed on a call. So we'll talk about that. There's just so many, and then James Franklin just will not let leave us alone. Every time we think he has reached the bottom, he has found a new bottom, which I don't think anybody could have ever seen coming.
No, and it's kind of a great Cliff's Notes for what we're going to get into today as my autoplay continues to come on. That's also a tradition like any other. The Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate. You'll hear my computer autoplay. Let's dive in to the biggest story, I believe. And one game you did not mention we'll also get into is Oklahoma, Texas, because I think that was a fascinating decision by Oklahoma. I don't want to dive into that yet. I do want to dive into Indiana, Oregon, because, Paul, we know the story with Indiana last year. It was like, oh, the little engine that could. What a cute little story. He brings all of his JMU players in. They fight, and then they get to the playoff and they absolutely get killed. So then everyone thinks Indiana's a fraud. They come in this year. They bring in some portals. They return their 2 receivers. They get Roman Henby, the transfer running back. They bring in some defensive guys. They beat the hell out of Illinois. And we're like, okay, that's all well and good, but how good is Illinois? So then we all point to this week on the road at Oregon, the Big Ten champion from a year ago, one of the best teams in the country. Do they get mopped up? Do they compete or do they win? The answer is, Paul, do they win? And I'm sitting here today, October 12th. Forget Indiana being a good team. I think Indiana is a championship caliber team this year, and I think it's remarkable.
They are. And it took till yesterday for a lot of people, including myself, to buy in, but for all the reasons you laid out. But I mean, I'm shaking my head continuously since that game ended 18 hours ago as we're taping this on Sunday morning. And I mean, there are no words to describe it because Matt, it was easy to write them off. It's impossible to now. And I mean, again, the game was tied 20-20, so I'm not going to, somebody asked me earlier, hey, do you think Oregon got exposed? I mean, they were beaten at home, but I still think they're a very good team.
Yeah, look, if there's one thing we've learned about this new era of college football, which is why I love the 12-team playoff, is you're never counting anybody out. A 2-loss team is going to get in there. I don't think Oregon's going to be a 2-loss team. Dante Moore is a really good young quarterback. They have all the positions in place to make a run, not only the Big Ten title, but a national championship. But this is about Indiana. I mean, this is about a 2-year turnaround, which I said last night on College Football Final, and I really believe this. This could be one of the best turnarounds in college football history. And not that we haven't seen things, everybody brings up Bill Snyder and Kansas State back in the day. That was a sustained period of time. Paul, this is overnight. This is Curt Cignetti coming from JMU, and in year one, taking a basketball school to the playoff. In year two, doubling down on that and bringing a better team to the fight. He always mouths off on camera. Sometimes people think he's writing checks his body can't cash. Then his team goes out there and plays like this. Look, for the Big Ten right now, it's Ohio State and everybody else. They've won 14 consecutive games as the number one team in the country. But I don't know that if those two played today or tomorrow, that it wouldn't be a game that comes right down to the end of the fourth quarter. And to say that about Indiana football, to me, is one of the more bizarre things you could say in college football.
Yeah, and Matthew, there's absolutely nothing attractive about Indiana from a football standpoint. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's been a wasteland for football for forever, with minor exceptions, and I don't know how he's done it. But it is him. So there's no reason to try to say, well, there's some other reason. I look around at big time football programs that struggle, like Auburn, to get sustained success, where they have everything and it's in a football state and they're Heisman Trophy winners all over the place. Indiana has absolutely nothing going for it, or had nothing going for it until Cignetti got there. And we can sit here the rest of the afternoon and try to find more reasons, but it comes down to him. It's that simple.
All right. So people are going to hate me for going this route, but it's worth the conversation. First of all, we were talking about this in studio last night off camera. Do you find Curt Cignetti likable?
No. The answer is pretty simple. I think you know me. I shoot straight. I respect him to no end. But absolutely. He's brash. He's over the top. He's had the last laugh, which is a really great attribute for somebody who is successful. And he's probably laughing right now, watching this, going, the guy with no hair gave me no shot. He laughed at me, and look who's got the laugh now.
Right. He's sitting there thinking, I don't give a damn what those two bozos think. But okay, so that's my next follow up. Is Indiana, is IU a football school now, at least for the last 2 years? Are they going to be able to keep Cignetti? And does he strike you as one of those guys that is going to dig in, build some roots at a place like Indiana, like we've seen Matt Campbell do at Iowa State, some of these high-profile coaches that build their resume and stay at a smaller footprint school? Do we think that this is sustainable in Indiana?
No, it's not. So I just don't think it is. And Matt, that we've seen a lot of coaches who have stayed at the roulette wheel too long. And I think if Cignetti's at an age where he's thinking, I probably have another move left. Where is it and for how much? And I would encourage him to think about it, because I just think at some point you'll get the wrong quarterback. You'll miss a little bit, and it will crash like triple witching hour on Wall Street. That's just my thought. Now, by the way, I would have gone broke betting against Indiana this year. But that's just my gut feeling, having watched college football for a very long time.
Yeah, because now what you're seeing is when you start connecting dots around the country, Paul, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think this offseason coaching carousel is going to be one of the craziest we've ever seen. Yeah. There's going to be so many good jobs open for how many quality coaches that are out there. We don't know. There's already a number of them open.
Right.
that's only going to be more. There's going to be a domino effect. And so Cignetti, I think, look, let's just say the Billy Napier thing doesn't end well. You don't think Cignetti's not going to be 1A or 1-1 on Florida's list? There's already another SEC job open in Arkansas. You don't know what's going to come open. I just find that it's going to be an offseason where there might be too many good jobs for the amount of quality coaches that are available.
And last year was one of the dullest coaching carousels we've ever seen. There wasn't even an opening in the SEC, but I think there'll be massive openings. And that's just, sometimes you don't know what's inside somebody's head. But I mean, I think he's been amazingly successful and, fortunate. But Matt, it's hard to dial that up every time. You see it across college football. Really good coaches, if not great coaches, slightly make a mistake on a quarterback, and there's no turning back during that season, and then you're right back at it again the next year. This isn't where you're building sustainability. It's mass chaos right now, and Cignetti has been successful at it. I would bet against him, like trying to do this 3 or 4 years in a row, though.
As we switch gears now from Indiana, who's a great story in college football, maybe one of the more frightening things developing right now. And when people thought, oh, here we go, it's done. We finally kicked this program down. The greatest of all time leaves, and now they finally go back to the struggles that everybody else does. Don't look now. They've beaten Georgia, Vanderbilt, on the road at Missouri in 3 consecutive weeks. Ty Simpson has figured it out with those receivers. The defense is making plays when they need to. And Paul, Alabama looks very Alabama as we head into the back half of the season. And that's probably not a good thing for most of the SEC.
No, it's not. And it doesn't matter what happened week 1 now, because we know what's happened since then. And that is the real indicator. I've talked to 50 people about that day in Tallahassee, and it just got away. Simple as that. It doesn't matter now. But Alabama is really good. I mean, I still think college football right now, we have 2 teams at the highest level, and then Alabama is in that next rung with Indiana and a number of other schools, Ole Miss as well. And these 3 weeks have not been easy. I was in Missouri for 2 days, and that would have been the biggest home win in Missouri in 50 years. Okay, it was that important.
Yeah.
And it went late. Alabama couldn't quite put them away, but who does anymore? We watched that all day yesterday with Ole Miss and countless other schools. But they have Tennessee. They're at South Carolina. Their schedule then they have LSU at home. They have Oklahoma at home. They're at Auburn. The schedule is getting better for them. It's not a cinch, but they're looking very much like a playoff team, and in my mind, a potential championship team.
Yeah, 3 ranked wins in a row. I mean, we talk about this all the time, and we get like ripped all the SEC bias. Well, 3 ranked. Look at those 3 ranked games they've had to get through. Find other teams in the country that could get through Georgia, that can get through a pesky Vanderbilt team, and then go to a place where Missouri had won 15 consecutive home games. That's a tough stretch. Again, they have Tennessee. That's a huge game coming up this week. But you're right. I think you said something important there, that week 1, everybody latched onto it. They latched onto it for the wrong reasons with Florida State, who's now 0-3 in ACC, and I don't know how that thing's going to end well. But Alabama's done the opposite. They've taken the week 1, they used it to galvanize, and now the SEC is starting to take shape in a year where I think we all agree it's pretty open. I mean, Georgia, they were down 10-0, should have been down 17-0 after Jackson Arnold reached the ball over the goal line and it was called a fumble. But they had to come back and win on the road in Auburn. And so, Paul, I mean, we could sit here and grasp for who's the best team in the SEC, but right now I still think in the midway point, you're looking at a league that anything can still happen.
Yeah, the one overall opinion of the SEC is that they don't have a super team, but they have a lot of really, really good teams. And Alabama, to me, has the most potential to get better, quickly followed by Ole Miss. Georgia, just is the most resilient team I've seen. But as far as Alabama, Ty Simpson is playing. I joked yesterday on our show that if you throw out the FSU game, Ty Simpson has wrapped up the Heisman. I realize you can't throw out any game, but he has been that good, and he. They're better on defense than I thought. I thought defense was really going to do them in after FSU, but that part of the lineup has gotten very good, and they still kind of play with their food and have a hard time putting teams away. That we saw that against Georgia, and we saw it yesterday. But again, road games in the SEC. I hate to sound like I'm preaching from the commissioner's office, although I'm not far from it right now. And it's just that's who they are.
You actually live in the pool house at Greg Sankey's place.
I'm not far. I could get there in 3 minutes.
Okay, so there isn't a super team. We get that. But then on the other half of the Georgia situation, Hugh Freeze and Auburn are 0-3. They bring in Jackson Arnold, who was the National Player of the Year, one of the great high school quarterbacks in the country when he committed to Oklahoma out of high school. Loaded at receiver. They have Auburn athletes. And Paul, I mean, this is getting late quick out there on the Plains.
It is. And you can't help but look at two games, Oklahoma and this game, and go, how in the world did Auburn keep getting these bad calls? But Matt, I will tell you, it doesn't matter once the game is over. And would Auburn have won had they gone up 17-0, which they should have? Absolutely should have. I like their chances, but that doesn't excuse them for not doing anything in the second half. And Hugh Freeze is wearing thin. And some coaches, when you watch after a loss, you feel better, you feel confident, you feel emboldened. Not Hugh Freeze. You feel the opposite. So he's got a quirky schedule ahead. He's got Missouri at home. He's at Vanderbilt. I'm sure I'm missing a game or two, but he does have Alabama. So the real problem for him is if he can't beat Alabama at home, that would mean 3 years he has gone 0 for his top two rivals. And that doesn't work well in the Auburn family, Matt. Those games mean more than anything else. And the Georgia game is just a fraction behind the Alabama game in importance.
You mentioned the schedule here: Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mercer, and Alabama. And so again, like Hugh Freeze had rehabilitated his career at Liberty. And I was one of those, and you were too. I'm like, it's only a matter of time for teams like, I'm taking a chance on Hugh Freeze and I'm going to win big. I think both of us think and thought Auburn was the perfect landing spot for
him. They loved him when he got here. And by the way, there's still support for Hugh Freeze. I want to make that very clear. But I can't give you a number on survival. I know beating Alabama is the trick. But of those games, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Alabama are problematic, all three. And more than one loss in that group, and I think it's going to put him if he goes 8-4, I don't think that's a fireable offense, even losing to Alabama. But I don't think he can do any worse without beating somebody. And really, Alabama's the only game that matters the rest of the way in terms of resonance.
Yeah, because the damage you could do to Alabama's season, who knows what the title will be at that point, but at least they're trending in a direction where we believe they could be playing for an SEC championship. Big debate in studio yesterday. Should Oklahoma have allowed John Mateer to play, or take it one step further, should John Mateer have said, look, I get it. He's a competitor, but there was nothing in that game, and not taking anything away from Sark, Texas, Arch, special teams. They deserved to win that game. But it was clear, Paul, that Mateer was not ready or capable of competing at the John Mateer level we had seen over the first month of the season. And I wonder if it did more damage than good having a guy out there with the wrap. It started bleeding. That was the big debate in studio yesterday. Should John Mateer have played for Oklahoma?
It was a terrible decision by Brent Venables to play John Mateer. I didn't like it going in because here is the reason why it was such a bad decision. They had to know Mateer was going to be severely limited. So they did two terrible things. They put him in harm's way, which he shouldn't have been in. Secondly, they cost themselves a great argument to the CFP if they ended up going 9-3 by saying, hey, listen, our biggest game of the year, we didn't have our best player. It's the it's a similar argument that FSU did not win on, but they might very well have won on. And they got nothing out of it other than a black eye. And I hope Mateer is okay, but Michael Hawkins, couldn't have really been any worse. So what they got nothing, they gained nothing, they lost everything, and now the schedule becomes very problematic. They have road games, if my memory is correct, at Tennessee and Alabama. How do you like those two? Plus Ole Miss at home.
Yeah, and
LSU
you
at
nailed
home.
it. You nailed it because the committee takes things like that into the equation. And so if you say like, oh, they didn't have the Heisman Trophy front run at the time, that goes as a little docket in their column. But the other thing is with Hawkins, your game plan is set with what he's able to do. They know that. We know that. With Mateer, you've got a guy he freewheels it. I mean, he kind of does whatever the hell he wants. It's kind of his style. He's a gunslinger. And so now perhaps the one game plan you went into the game with thinking that you were going to do with Hawkins gets completely flipped when Mateer starts practicing. We don't even know how much he practiced, but you almost throw a last-minute curveball at your team when everyone was under the impression, and probably even a team itself, that he was going to be out for an extensive period of time. I just thought, I don't know that I wouldn't have rushed him back. I mean, look, we're not the team doctors and we're not the head coach, but I didn't like it, and I thought it showed in the game yesterday. In a game which, by the way, Arch Manning, right now, that's the only game that matters. Arch beat Oklahoma, Texas beat Oklahoma, and they can reset their season.
Yeah, and for Brent Venables, I gave you the schedule. The Michigan win means very little right now after what happened with Michigan last night, and besides, he's 1-3 in the biggest game of the season. And Matt, we don't need to educate this audience. It's the smartest college football audience in the country watching this podcast, how important that game is.
Yeah. I mean, look, and it can be a reset. Season resets happen at the midway point of the season. We'll see if that's what that is for Texas, because again, confidence is everything in college football. And if you're a young team, you're a young quarterback, and everyone gets confidence after beating the 5th or 6th ranked team in the country, then look, you can grow on that. We'll see what they do with that victory, and we'll see what Oklahoma does now, because they were one of the good stories in the early part of the college football season. Do you want to get into Ole Miss playing around with Washington State?
Yeah, man, I really don't understand what happened in that game, but I think the simplest explanation is nobody really respected Washington State, and Ole Miss was already thinking about Georgia. I'm really glad they pulled it out, but that reminded me a little bit of the Kentucky game last year that they didn't pull out and lost, and it pretty much wrecked their season.
Hey, and two other things before we get to some midseason superlatives. Bobby Petrino, in his return as a head coach at Arkansas, they gave Tennessee everything they had.
The only thing I didn't understand at 6:30, 7 o'clock last night in Knoxville, why was Bobby Petrino still wearing sunglasses? I couldn't figure that one out, Matt. But other than that, he did what he had to do to stay alive in a very much of a long shot race to be the next Arkansas head coach. He improved the program dramatically. They played hard. And now if he can win a game or two, I still don't think he has much of a chance, but he didn't hurt his chances yesterday in Knoxville.
Yeah, we were kind of laughing at the sunglasses thing too. We're like, Bobby, you're trying to fight all these off the field like perceptions and this, that, and the other. Can we not do the sunglasses? And then finally, I keep using this term and people keep like, well, that's not right, off the field stuff. But Penn State, James Franklin, you go and lose and get bludgeoned by UCLA the week before. Paul, I thought Penn State was going to come home and take out every bit of a season of frustrations on Northwestern. Not only did Northwestern beat them, they lost Drew Aller for the year. And I don't know. I mean, it's a $50 million buyout. I think they've got the. I don't know what they're going to do, but the James Franklin thing seems to have hit the brakes, and it's not coming back.
Yeah, let's get something clear. Nobody here is suggesting James Franklin be fired. He has a tremendous resume. What I am suggesting is that James Franklin meet with the administration at Penn State and start planning an exit, because to me, it feels like he has no credibility remaining. Nobody wants to watch another James Franklin press conference. I mean, I don't want to be ugly, try to do comparisons, but I mean, there are a lot of things that if you were giving someone the option of having pulling their fingernails out or watching another losing James Franklin press conference, it would be a close call which way I would go. That would be the most painful. So I just think it's over for him at Penn State. However, the two parties decide that it's over. His agent should be on the phone right now trying to find him a job elsewhere and trying to find some common ground on that $50 million, because I don't think anyone, any Penn State fan in this country wants to see or hear another word from James Franklin this season.
Yeah, you can't come back. I mean, you can't come back from that. And a roster that was built for a national championship run, to be 0-3 in the Big Ten, and 2 of those 3 losses be to UCLA, who's turned it around since their firing, and then yesterday Northwestern. There's not going to be buy-in anymore. I say this all the time when it comes to coaching, hiring, and firing. Is there buy-in? Are you recruiting? And is there effort? You bring back Katron Allen, Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, and your starting quarterbacks out, I'm with you. The James Franklin thing is run its course. He got into the playoff last year, but I don't think there's any coming back from it. Okay, let's wrap up this edition of the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate. Midseason superlatives. Biggest disappointment.
Well, I've already said Penn State, so let's move them off the roster. I think after Penn State, Matt, it's still Clemson, because they were top 3, top 4 going in. Klubnik looked like a possible Heisman winner, so there's just no way you can get around what's happened there. There's a lot of other competitors for it. One may have turned the corner yesterday in Texas. But those two, Clemson and Penn State, were built for a championship run this year, and neither one will come anywhere near it.
That's right, because the rosters were set with veterans at all the right places to make a run, and neither of those teams will be able to do that. Okay, biggest midseason, your midseason superlative for biggest surprise.
Well, I'm going to say Indiana, like I did earlier, because I didn't buy in. I could not believe that they were. I mean, I just thought there was no way they were going to make it back to the playoffs, and they are going to make it back to the playoffs.
Yeah, Indiana for me that's a lock. Not only, I said at the beginning, they're a championship caliber team, and they've done everything and then some. And finally, Paul, who are we not done at the midway point? Who are we not done hearing from yet?
Yeah, I still think there's a couple of mystery teams out there to me. I think LSU remains an enigma. The night that they beat Clemson 6-7 weeks ago, they looked like one of the best 2 teams in the country, but they have still not let go. I mean, to Brian Kelly's credit, they're winning games ugly, and I mean downright ugly. But that's because of an elite defense. I think that would be the one that I'm locked into. Obviously, the Alabama story has been talked about ad nauseum.
Yeah, for me, the team we're not done hearing from yet, and this is the week where that scales tip either good or bad. Notre Dame at 10-2. They've got USC this week, who came off a big win against Michigan. I still believe Notre Dame is one of the most talented rosters in the country. They go 10-2. They're in, and they're going to be a nightmare for people.
Right.
So I'm on the Irish still, and we'll see if I'm that way next Sunday after the game against USC in one of the great traditional rivalries. The 20-year anniversary of the Bush Push out there at Notre Dame Stadium. What a week it was. I hope you've enjoyed the first half of the season, because the back half of the season, with what we've seen already, it's going to be an absolute circus, and that's why we love the sport. For Paul Finebaum, I'm Matt Barrie. Thanks for settling in with us on another Sunday on the Matt Barrie Show, presented by Allstate.
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let them look